Page 12, Salut d'amor, or however you say it, I don't know. Something that has to do with love. There's different arrangements of this piece. I've covered this in other method books too, but not this arrangement. This is interesting. You see this grand staff actually has 3 stabs on it. And they can do that. They can have 3 stabs sometimes. So if you think reading 2 stabs is fun, fasten your seatbelt. We're going to play all 3 of these stabs at the same time. In theory, at least. You see the curly brace at the beginning? That's the symbol that signifies a grand staff. Well, it's covering all 3 lines, and all 3 lines are connected with the bar lines and so forth. 1 flat, we're in the key of F major. 4/4 time, no big deal. We got to work out what's going on with these 3, because now you got to figure out which hand is playing what. Well, they're telling you, you got the LH and the RH and the LH. So what they're telling you is the right hand's going to cover the middle staff and the left hand's going to cover the others. Isn't that going to be fun? Now, they didn't have to use 3 stabs. They could have used 2, and they could just keep changing the clef sign like we did in a piece earlier, where you have 1 note of bass clef and 1 note of treble, 1 note of bass, 1 note of treble. And they could do it in 2 stabs that way. But a lot of times it's easier to understand what's going on if they just put it in 3 stabs. And you understand, most of the time when you get 3 stabs, the left hand is going to be doing the outside stabs and the right hand does the middle. Doesn't have to be that way. It just works out that way. So let's cover it first, 1 hand at a time. Make sure we got all that out of the way. So I'm going to start with the right hand. The right hand is playing the middle staff, and it's a bass clef. So we're down here, here. So it's 1, 2. Now they've got 4th finger there, and that's okay. You can use 5th if you'd like, but keep in mind you got a B flat coming up later. So, but that's fine. 1, 2. But I recommend 3rd finger here on the 2nd major, 3rd finger on that one. So it's again 1, 2. They're saying 4th finger. You can use 5th if you want. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. And you do that again. Now they're telling you 5th finger. Why don't you use 5th finger to begin with? I suggest you do. Use 5th finger. So go on. This is the 1st major, the 2nd line. You're here. 1, 2. And then the last measure of the piece, they want a 2, 3. And then now you can, if you want to be sure and play a 5th finger on that note at the top of page 13 here, then rather than 2, 3, do a 3, 4. That way you're here. I like that better. So again, the last 2 measures of page 12, you're here 4th finger, and then a 3, 4, and then going on. Now, on the 2nd measure on page 13, well, the 1st measure was 5. You can use 2, but I recommend just stay there and use 4. And thumb on the F. This way you're in position for the D. So it's 4, 3, 2, 1. And this way you can go on. Cross. Now, 2nd line, last measure. 1, 2. Thumb. Last line is reach down, 1, 2. And then the 8th notes is a 3, 1, 2. And then the treble clef in the last measure is an AC, or AF, there. Connect it. Connect all those together. Yeah. Now your left hand's going to be moving around so much, so I suggest you concentrate on this right hand until it's fairly comfortable, because you're going to need to spend most of your time focused on the left hand. So keep working on that right hand. The left hand, you got quarter notes, you're going to be going back and forth over the right hand. So you're starting down here in the bottom staff, and then the next note, you're playing this. They're saying 1 and 4. I like 2 and 5. You can use whichever one you want. The problem is the right hand is going to be in here. And so when you come over, you don't want your hands fighting with each other. So I try and use fingers so let me get my hands further apart. Well, that's 2 and 5 in that case. So I'm probably going to use the 5th finger on the bottom note on these things in the upper staff, most of it. So at the beginning you're here, rest, A, rest, fingering is up to you what you do, but then we got to figure out, okay, where you're looking, because you got to look at the music to see what's coming. You got to look at the piano, the keyboard, to see where you're moving to. You're doing this constantly. Well, I can visualize that first measure. I know the notes in the first measure already. So once I started, I can look at the piano where I'm at, and then once I'm here, I can look back down to see what's coming, and then look down here, and I'm already looking at the next measure. I can look at the whole measure and see all the notes, like so. And that helps the looking up and down a little bit. You'll develop your own system. That's part of practicing the piano, is practicing when to look at the music and when to look down. So you go through the left hand throughout this whole thing and work out all that stuff. It's mainly just going back and forth. And then we can put the hands together. Oh, piece of cake, right? Well, we're starting here. So just take it slow. Hesitate all you need to. It's not important right now. Hold that down. Natural there. Now it's a B flat in that last measure, because that natural sign's only good for that measure. So it's last measure on that page. You just work this out slowly. So that's a C there in the second line. That's a D there. It doesn't sound right, but it is. Hold that whole note down. Then the last line. Actually, it's the last three measures. The last three measures, you're here. B natural. B flat. And then here. Now, here, it's these notes. You can't hold these quarter notes down the full beat. You got to be moving around. The pedal will help us connect this out. So work it out where at some speed, as slow as you got to go, you can eventually get it where it's steady. So forth, just work it out. Then we can add, well, there's not a lot of articulation going on. It's pretty much slurred, and that's for the right hand. You can lift, like taking a breath, between the first and second line on page 12. It's here, lift up. So you can do that. Now when you get to the bottom of the page, page 12, and you go to page 13, I don't recommend lifting up here because you're going into it. To me, you should connect that. So I would not, no, connect that together. Even though it's a different phrase, connect them. Sometimes you really do connect phrases together. And the left hand's just going crazy. Don't worry about that. Now at the bottom, the last line, you can't lift up here before. Here if you want, that's fine. Because really the song ended on the half note F. That's it. The rest of this is like a little coda, a little tag on the end. Then we can add the dynamics. Well, this is the fun part. This is what, good luck with this. You want to bring out the melody. Well, the melody's the right hand, so you got to keep the left hand soft. So can you? And it's moderately loud at the beginning. I'll come back to the cantabile. Just moderately loud, and you're gonna, for the last two, the half notes, you're gonna up, a little louder, go up, and then back down. And you're going to put in these swells each time you're doing that. Now at the top of page 13, you have that crescendo. I suggest you come down to maybe a moderately soft so you got more room to go up to loud. And you had to plan it out because you got like 4 measures before you're loud. So the first measure on page 13 is moderately soft. And the next measure, just go up a hair. Go up to moderately loud. Now loud. And then come back down. And the crescendo in the second line, third measure, that's more for the left hand. So, because you can't crescendo once you play a note on a piano. So the left hand's going to get a little louder. And then so forth, and at the end you come down. So, and there's a retardando there, you slow down. Here. Left hand needs to stay in the background as best as you can, so good luck with that. So practice the dynamics at your speed. Go nice and slow. Then the lento is slow. It is a... which is good because your left hand's going crazy. So then we add the pedal. Well, we need pedal here, not just to help us connect things, but we want the overtones because it's a slow piece. And when you have slower music, the notes last longer because it goes slower. And that gives people time to hear them more. And when they have time to hear them more, it's really a good idea to color them a little bit. And you color them by adding overtones. And you add overtones by using the pedal. So it makes sense. They're showing overlapping throughout, and because we got so much going on, we'll just keep the pedal fairly simple. I would like to hear the phrasing, so on those, like at the end of the first line, when I lift up the right hand to take a breath, I'm going to lift the pedal up with the right hand so I hear a little silence in there. So for instance, at the beginning, I'll push the notes down first and then the pedal. Second measure, you change it twice. So sometimes you're changing it once, sometimes you're changing it twice. We're doing it twice in the second measure because we don't want to catch all of that in one pedal. So we clean it out a little bit in the middle of it. So it's... change it there and last measure, but connect it with the hand. So just follow the pedaling the way they're doing it. We could offer other suggestions, but it's hard enough. This is a rather challenging piece. Yeah. Now, the cantabile is a singing style. You'd have to think somebody singing this and try and do that on the piano. Make it sound like it's being sung. And you can use rubato in this. Rubato is where you're speeding up and slowing down slightly. Not a lot, slightly. Overall, the beat needs to stay fairly simple or common, constant, one of those words. But you can speed up and slow down a little bit. I'd like to play this with you very slowly. It's a slow piece anyway. I'm going to go slower than that. If you want, just one hand at a time for a bit. I'll give us 4 counts. I'm not going to do any dynamics, but we'll see what happens. Real slow. I think I'm going to do this without pedal because you can hear the notes more clearly without pedal. If you want to use pedal, you go ahead. But for the purpose of this little exercise, because I'm not trying to perform it, I'm just going to play the notes and do it that way. 1, 2, ready, go. 1. 3, 4. Two, 3, 4, off.